Dear audience, you are following the News of America Daily News. I'm editor John Tyson. Today is November 2nd, in 2020, there will be the following main news. 1. Coronavirus cases in Texas surpass 900,000, state data shows. 2. Coronavirus transmission at home common, over 50% household contacts infected, CDC finds. 3. Coronavirus face masks at polls encouraged, but not required in some states. 4. Voting amid coronavirus, tips to stay safe on election day. 5. Coronavirus in the U.S., state-by-state breakdown. 6. Trump, Biden campaigns blitz NC ahead of election day. 7. Trump defends Texas drivers who surrounded Biden bus, sees car rallies in New York, New Jersey. 8. Trump, in Scranton, hits Biden on fracking, vote for ex-VP would destroy Pennsylvania. 9. Trump rallies supporters in North Carolina amid final sprint before Election Day. 10. Pennsylvania AG dismisses Trump, says he could care less what president says on election night. 11. Biden, campaigning in battlegrounds on eve of election, says it's time for Trump to pack his bags. 12. Election day weather setting up to be quiet after northeast to see light rain, snow. Coronavirus cases in Texas surpassed 900,000 over the weekend, according to state estimates. As of Sunday, some 904,855 cases of the novel virus were reported in the Lone Star State, with more than 4,000 new cases reported on Sunday alone. Overall, more than 18,000 lives have been lost to COVID-19 in Texas, including the 53 new fatalities reported on Sunday. Additionally, more than 5,600 people are currently hospitalized with COVID-19 in the state. Texas is number 2 in the nation for the most cases of the deadly virus reported in the past 7 days, according to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Illinois has reported the most in the past week, with 44,570 cases. Texas, meanwhile, has reported 42,480 cases in the past 7 days, per the CDC. The news comes as some states are encouraging, but not requiring, face masks at the polls ahead of Election Day on Tuesday, while officials in some states have said they will require voters who refuse to wear a mask to cast their vote either curbside or at an isolated location. A federal appeals court in Texas halted an order that would have required voters to wear a face mask while at the polls. As of Monday, the U.S. had tallied over 9.2 million cases of coronavirus and more than 231,000 deaths. A number of regions are seeing a surge in cases, as health officials have urged the public to refrain from letting so-called coronavirus fatigue set in, especially as the U.S. heads into flu season. Coronavirus transmission at home common. Over 50% household contacts infected. Coronavirus spread within households is common, and substantial transmission occurs from both children and adults, according to a report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Health officials have been warning about virus transmission occurring inside homes. Dr. Deborah Birx, White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator, for instance, has warned that coronavirus-related closures of public places won't stop virus spread in this phase of the pandemic, where at-home gatherings are contributing to cases, reported the Chicago Tribune. Also, Dr. Allison Airwadi, Commissioner of the Chicago Department of Public Health, has said, "In fact, where we see the spread of COVID-19 is where we let down our guard, where we literally let down our mask, because we feel comfortable with those we love. But the virus is just looking for opportunities to spread." In its latest report, the CDC assessed 101 households in Nashville, Tennessee, and Marshfield, Wisconsin, from April to September. The households included 101 index patients, or the believed source of infection, and 191 household contacts. These people took self-samples for the virus every day for 2 weeks. Over half, 53%, of all household contacts were infected, and secondary infections occurred rapidly, with approximately 75% of infections identified within 5 days of the index patient's illness onset, the health agency wrote. Younger index patients aged 12 to 17 years infected about 38% of household contacts, according to the data. To lower the risk of virus spread at home, the CDC recommends isolating immediately upon coronavirus-like symptoms, testing positive, or testing due to high-risk exposure, whichever happens first. Also, everyone should wear masks in shared spaces at home. Members of the same household should use separate bedrooms and bathrooms if possible, the CDC wrote. Finally, a significant number of infected people in the study were asymptomatic, which further emphasizes the importance of isolation, the agency wrote. While public health officials recommend that you wear a mask to help prevent the spread of coronavirus while at the polls on Tuesday, many election officials across the country have said it's not a requirement in order to cast a vote. Voters are encouraged but not required to wear a face covering while at a polling place for the purpose of voting in an election, said an update on Michigan's website, which echoes statements made by officials in states like Pennsylvania, California, Virginia, and elsewhere. Some states have said they will require voters who refuse to wear a mask to cast their vote either curbside or at an isolated location. Meanwhile, in Texas, a federal appeals court halted an order that would have required voters to wear a face mask while at the polls. And if you do follow public health guidelines and wear a mask while voting, there may be circumstances that require you to temporarily remove it, such as identification procedures or if a voter has trouble breathing or is otherwise unable to wear a face covering. Should a voter find themselves without a mask or face covering, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has several tips to help keep both voters and poll workers safe from COVID-19. In jurisdictions where voters' masks may need to be removed, to support identification procedures, alcohol-based hand sanitizer containing at least 60% alcohol should be provided at the station so voters can sanitize their hands after removing their masks, the CDC said. A plastic barrier between the voter and the poll worker can provide additional protection. Post signs providing instruction on proper removal and handling of masks. Masks can also make it more difficult to lip read or understand what is trying to be communicated, especially for those who are deaf or hard of hearing. On Tuesday, poll workers can help by providing written communication, posting information/instructions, and decreasing background noise. Lip reading can also be supported with clear masks, face shields or plexiglass barriers. Consistent with applicable law, election officials should consider having supplies, such as clear face coverings available, to ensure that voting is accessible to people with disabilities. The CDC states. Poll workers have also been instructed to encourage mask usage by either offering free masks to voters and by posting signs in visible locations that promote behaviors to prevent the spread of COVID-19. As of Monday, the U.S. had tallied over 9.2 million cases of coronavirus and more than 231,000 deaths. A number of regions are seeing a surge in cases, as health officials have urged the public to refrain from letting so-called coronavirus fatigue set in, especially as the U.S. heads into flu season. Millions will head to the polls on Tuesday to cast their vote in person, which has the potential for large crowds or other less than ideal conditions amid the coronavirus pandemic. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which released a case report last month calling for stronger mitigation measures at the polls, has posted updated guidance to help voters and poll workers stay safe on Election Day. The more an individual interacts with others, and the longer that interaction, the higher the risk of COVID-19 spread, the CDC wrote. Elections with only in-person voting on a single day are higher risk for COVID-19 spread, because there will be larger crowds and longer wait times. Lower-risk election polling settings include those with a wide variety of voting options, longer voting periods, more days and/or more hours, any other feasible options for reducing the number of voters who congregate indoors in polling locations at the same time. While the main route of transmission for COVID-19 is through respiratory outlets, numerous studies have shown that it may be possible to contract the illness by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it and then touching the face, nose or possibly even eyes. Hand washing, staying home when sick, cleaning, and disinfection are all mitigation measures that should be used on Election Day, the health agency advises. Election officials and poll workers can also help stifle spread by staying home. if they are sick or had recent close contact with a person with COVID-19. Providing hand sanitizer at the polls for each step in the voting process, and placing it in a visible location can also help promote disinfecting measures, as can regularly cleaning and disinfecting voting equipment. Encouraging poll workers to wash their hands frequently and to cover coughs and sneezes can also help keep the environment safe, the CDC advises. Recommend and reinforce the use of masks among all workers. The CDC advises. Masks are most essential in times when physical distancing is difficult. Information should be provided to workers on proper use, removal, and washing of masks. It's also recommended that workers encourage voters to use masks, and when the need for mask removal arises, to place a plastic barrier between the voter and the poll worker. Voters should also be reminded of the importance of social distancing, with the aid of signs or other visual cues such as floor markings. Crowd and line management may also play an important role in slowing the spread. Should an infected person enter the polling area, the CDC recommends increasing the number of polling locations available for early voting, and extending the hours of operation, as well as maintaining or increasing the number of polling places available to the public on election day. Once inside, increasing distance between voting booths and modifying the location layout to ensure voters move in one direction can help, as can encouraging those who plan to vote in person to do so during off-peak times, in order to protect those most at risk for severe illness. Polling locations previously set up at nursing homes or long-term care facilities should be moved. They should also be set up separate from other facility users. Voters are encouraged to check voting location and requirements in advance to cut down on time spent at the polls, and if necessary, to complete registration forms before arriving to vote. Bringing your own black pen or a stylus to use at a touchscreen voting machine can also be helpful. And, coronavirus in the U.S. State-by-state breakdown. As of Monday, the novel coronavirus has infected more than 46,574,910 people across 189 countries and territories, resulting in at least 1,201,138 deaths. In the U.S., all 50 states plus the District of Columbia have reported confirmed cases of COVID-19, tallying more than 9,208,874 illnesses, and at least 231,003 deaths. Here's a look at the 10 states with the most cases. 1. Texas. 936,816 cases. 2. California. 936,144 cases. 3. Florida. 807,412 cases. 4. New York. 509,735 cases. 5. Illinois. 423,527 cases. 6. Georgia. 361,982 cases. 7. North Carolina. 276,692 cases. 8. Tennessee. 261,426 cases. 9. Arizona. 247,473 cases. 10. New Jersey. 239,629 cases. Here's a look at the top 10 states with the most deaths. 1. New York. 33,535 deaths. 2. Texas. 18,502 deaths. 3. California. 17,672 deaths. 4. Florida. 16,789 deaths. 5. New Jersey. 16,354 deaths. 6. Illinois. 10,075 deaths. 7. Massachusetts. 10,013 deaths. 8. Pennsylvania. 8,803 deaths. 9. Georgia. 7,981 deaths. 10. Michigan. 7,699 deaths. The Trump and Biden campaigns are blitzing battleground. State North Carolina ahead of Election Day. North Carolina, once a shoo-in for Republicans with 15 electoral votes, is now considered a purple state. The Cook Political Report rates it as a toss-up. President Trump will hold a rally in Fayetteville, NC, on Monday morning, after speaking to supporters in Hickory, NC, on Sunday. In addition, First Lady Melania Trump will campaign in Huntersville, NC, on Monday afternoon. Vice President Mike Pence held 2 events in North Carolina on Saturday, and campaigned in Boone in the western part of the state on Sunday. Trump campaign senior advisor Corey Lewandowski predicted that Trump will win North Carolina as well as Florida, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin during an interview on America Daily News Sunday. If that's the case, there will be no need to continue to count, because there will be a resounding victory, Lewandowski said. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's surrogates are flocking to North Carolina hoping that the state will reject Trump in 2020 after choosing him in 2016. Democratic vice presidential nominee Senator Kamala Harris campaigned in 2 North Carolina cities, Goldsboro and Fayetteville, on Sunday. Biden's wife, Jill Biden, and comedian Amy Schumer campaigned in Charlotte on Saturday. Democrats are banking that shifting demographics in the state will work in their favor. In Charlotte, North Carolina's biggest city, an influx of millennials is making the region more blue as roughly 50,000 people move to the city each year, according to NBC News. President Donald Trump is defending road rallies across the country, particularly the Trump train in Texas that surrounded a Joe Biden campaign bus. Trump tweeted on Monday about an FBI investigation into the Friday incident, in which several trucks formed a so-called Trump train around the bus as it traveled from San Antonio to Austin. "This story is false," the president tweeted. "They did nothing wrong. But the Antifa anarchists, rioters, and looters, who have caused so much harm and destruction in Democrat-run cities, are being seriously looked at." Trump's tweet was a response to CNN anchor Ana Cabrera's tweet, in which she said that the FBI was investigating alleged harassment by the motorists. Trump's comments reiterate earlier comments the president made on Sunday, when he said that, "In my opinion, these patriots did nothing wrong. Instead, the FBI and justice should be investigating the terrorists, anarchists, and agitators of Antifa, who run around burning down our Democrat-run cities and hurting our people." Trump had originally commented on the event, when he tweeted a video of the incident, saying, "I love Texas." The incident led to the Biden/Harris campaign canceling 2 events planned to be held in San Marcos and Austin. Neither Biden nor his running mate, Kamala Harris, were aboard the bus, which was not part of Harris's separate visit to Texas that day. The last few weeks have seen Trump supporters take to the road in an effort to show their support in what appears to be a tightly contested election. Reports indicate that even historically ruby-red Texas may be in play for Democratic candidate Joe Biden. In more staunchly blue New York and New Jersey, Trump supporters blockaded the Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge, formerly known as the Tappan Zee Bridge, and the Garden State Parkway on Sunday. The rallies blocked traffic on the 2 busy roadways for hours. Trump supporters stood on the bridge and parkway with flags raised as they chanted their support for the president. New York has seen a number of car rallies throughout October, with one in New York City before the Jews for Trump rally earlier last week, as well as a number of megagra caravans organized by Loud Majority Long Island, which has claimed to have thousands of trucks and cars in its caravans. "We've been the silent majority for a long time, and we decided that had to change," Loud Majority leader and event organizer Sean Farish of West Babylon said during one of the earlier rallies. "There are only so many times you can be falsely called a racist, and a homophobe and misogynist and a fearmonger." The Trump truckers even appeared at a Biden stump stop in Minnesota on Friday night, honking throughout the candidate's speech and appearing to get under the nominee's skin. Dr. Fauci called for a mask mandate last week, Biden said. "This isn't a political statement like those ugly folks over there beeping the horns. This is a patriotic duty, for God's sake." President Trump is holding his second of 5 rallies in the final day before Election Day in Scranton, PA, the birthplace of his Democratic opponent. He told the crowd, "We win Pennsylvania, we win it all, just like last time." During the first few minutes he spoke, the fired-up crowd broke out into chants of "We love Trump. This does not look like a second-place finish. I saw Sleepy Joe, he had about 12 people. He was unable to fill up his circles. Trump told the energetic crowd. The president also hit his opponent, Joe Biden, for his conflicting remarks on fracking. A major industry in the state. A big part of your livelihood. Your money, your income is fracking. He spent over a year saying he will not allow fracking, Trump said. As a nominee, he started talking about fracking. He said we will absolutely allow it but not on government land. The press never held him accountable and never held him accountable for all corruption he was a part of, he continued. A vote for Biden will be a vote to ban fracking, outlaw mining, explode energy costs and destroy Pennsylvania. The president added. Trump held 4 rallies in the battleground swing state on Saturday, and was scheduled for 3 more events Monday, in Michigan and Wisconsin. He held a rally late Monday morning in North Carolina. President Trump on Monday again hit the campaign trail, speaking to supporters in North Carolina amid a final push through swing states ahead of Election Day. Trump began with remarks at a Make America Great Again victory rally at Fayetteville Regional Airport in North Carolina, a state he won in 2016 and will be seeking to keep in his column on Tuesday. Tomorrow we are going to win this state. And we are going to win 4 more years in our great White House, he told the crowd. With your vote, we will continue to cut your taxes, cut regulation, support our great police, support our fantastic military, care for our veterans, protect your Second Amendment, defend religious liberty, and ensure more products are proudly stamped with that wonderful phrase, made in the USA, he said. Trump touched on everything from what he called the fake polls showing him behind the Hunter Biden laptop scandal and alleged bias in big tech companies like Twitter. He described Hunter Biden as a vacuum cleaner, going all over the world, following his father, picking up the scraps. He also played a video showing a number of gaffes and verbal stumbles by Joe Biden. Don't do it to yourself, he said of voting for Biden. The rally comes after a number of events in key swing states by Trump, and hours after a rally in Florida that lasted until 1 a.m. Thousands of his supporters descended upon Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport, located about 14 miles north of downtown Miami, in support of the president who ended a busy day of campaigning by making a final pitch to Florida voters. We're going to have an even bigger victory. Get out there and vote, Trump told the crowd Sunday night. We're going to have a bigger victory. And I don't know if you found out you've been here a long time. I hope the music was good. I hope life was good. Everything was good. That's a good-looking crowd. Good-looking people, I will say. Trump held rallies in 5 states on Sunday, including Iowa, Michigan, Georgia, and North Carolina. The sprint comes after Trump hosted 4 rallies in the pivotal state of Pennsylvania on Saturday. Trump will also hold more rallies in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and 2 in Michigan in a final sprint before Election Day. We got some big ones, he said. Vice President Mike Pence made a stop in Pennsylvania earlier Monday, at a campaign rally in Latrobe, PA, and was scheduled to speak in Erie, PA, Monday afternoon. The Biden campaign will also focus much of its time Monday on the Keystone State, with Joe Biden hosting drive-in and canvass events in Pittsburgh and Beaver County. The dueling campaign events will give the candidates one last chance to try and rake in Pennsylvania's 20 electoral college votes. Biden's lead in Pennsylvania appears to have shrunk in the final leg of the race. In a Monmouth University poll released Monday, among all registered voters, 50% support Biden and 45% back Trump. Also, 1% support Libertarian Joe Jorgensen, and 4% are undecided or won't reveal their vote. The poll found Trump had edges on 2 issues, protecting jobs and law and order. Biden held a major advantage on handling the COVID-19 pandemic. The poll found that there had been movement in 10 swing counties in the state. Voters in those counties gave Biden a 53-42 edge last month but now go for Trump, 49-45. President Trump has been criticizing states that have extended deadlines for accepting ballots beyond Election Day, saying that the country should have a result by Tuesday night. Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro, however, says that his state will make sure that every ballot is counted, regardless of what the president says. As the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, I will protect the will of the people, Shapiro told CNN Sunday. I could care less what Donald Trump says. We will count these ballots in a proper way to be certified. Pennsylvania will be counting ballots that are received via mail up to 3 days after Election Day, barring evidence that they were not sent by November 3. State Republicans have challenged a Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling that granted this extension, so the state will be segregating ballots that come in after Tuesday in case a final ruling declares them to be invalid. Shapiro also fired back against news first reported by Axios that Trump was supposedly planning to declare victory Tuesday night, if it appears that he is ahead at that point. So Donald Trump can get out there and say whatever the hell he wants on election night, Shapiro said. But the only thing that matters is when we've counted up all the legal eligible votes here in Pennsylvania and the other states, and what the people have said, what the will of the people is. Trump denied that he planned to do this when he was asked by a reporter on Sunday. No, that was a false report, Trump said, kicking off his final day of campaigning ahead of Election Day in battleground Ohio. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden took aim at President Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic and stressed that it was time for the president to pack his bags and go home. Campaigning in Cleveland, Ohio, on Monday afternoon, the former vice president argued that Americans have tired of Trump's presidency. We're done with the chaos, we're done with the tweets, the anger, the hate, the failure, the irresponsibility, he highlighted. We've got a whole lot of work to do. If I'm elected your president, I'm going to act on day one, Biden vowed. On day one of my presidency, we're going to put into action a plan to combat the coronavirus, which he said would emphasize masking, social distancing, testing, tracing, and taking aim at a president who for months resisted wearing a mask in public and who has continued to ridicule Biden's mask wearing. The former vice president asked, "Imagine where we'd be if this president from the beginning just wore a mask instead of mock wearing a mask." Biden spoke amid a new surge in the coronavirus, which has taken the lives of nearly 230,000 Americans. More than 9 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported since the pandemic swept the nation in February and March. Biden also spoke the day after the president took aim at Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and the most prominent and well-known member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. The president, who has had a contentious relationship with Fauci, was complaining about news media coverage of COVID-19 when a large crowd of supporters at a late-night rally in Florida began chanting, "Fire Fauci. Don't tell anybody, but let me wait until a little bit after the election," Trump told his supporters, who cheered. "I appreciate the advice," Biden said. Last night Trump said he was going to fire Dr. Fauci. "I've got a better idea. Elect me and I'm going to hire Dr. Fauci. And we're going to fire Donald Trump." And he once again charged that the president's waved white flag of surrender to this virus. He pledged that, "I'm never going to wave the white flag of surrender. We're going to beat this virus. We're going to get it under control, I promise you," and spotlighted that the first step to beating virus is beating Donald Trump. Biden has made his criticism of the president's handling of the coronavirus a key part of his closing campaign theme. Polls indicate that the pandemic, along with an economy severely deflated by the coronavirus, are the top two issues on the minds of American voters. The president has repeated said the past 2 months that the country is rounding the corner, or rounding the turn, in defeating the coronavirus, and has promised that vaccines are coming along great. Biden's stop in Ohio was a last-minute decision by his campaign. The Buckeye State has long played a crucial role in presidential elections, with razor-thin margins between candidates. It was the state that famously put George W. Bush over the top in 2004 for a second term. 4 years ago, it appeared it would be another close contest, with an average of the polls on the eve of the election putting Trump narrowly ahead. But Trump ended up swamping 2016 Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton by 8 points, flipping the state and winning Ohio's 18 electoral votes. Trump's margin of victory was the largest by any presidential candidate in nearly 3 decades. But Ohio's very much in play again, with average of the final polls in the state indicating Trump with a razor-thin 0.2-point edge over Biden. Biden spoke in front of more than 100 cars packed with supporters. There was a larger overflow lot for supporters who were turned away due to spacing issues due to social distancing amid the coronavirus. The former vice president headed to Pennsylvania after his Cleveland stop. Of all of the battlegrounds, Pennsylvania may be the most crucial, and is getting the most candidate traffic in the final stretch. Pennsylvanians who haven't voted yet, we need every one of you to vote. Biden implored at a drive-in car rally in Philadelphia Sunday night. Pennsylvania is critical to this election. 4 years ago, Trump became the first Republican nominee to win Pennsylvania since George H.W. Bush in 1988. Trump carried the state and its 20 electoral votes by just 0.7%. The Biden campaign has heavily concentrated on Pennsylvania, the former vice president's native state. During his nearly 4 decades in the Senate representing Delaware, Biden was known as Pennsylvania's third senator. An average of the final surveys indicates Biden with a 4.3-point edge over the president. Trump campaigned in the Keystone State on Saturday and returns Monday. Besides the former vice president's events in the state on Monday, Biden, running mate Senator Kamala Harris, and their spouses are fanning out across the Pennsylvania all day on the eve of the election. U.S. Marshals found 27 missing children following a rescue operation in Virginia. According to the Justice Department, DOJ, on Friday, the 5-day law enforcement effort, dubbed Operation Find Our Children, was the latest in a series of operations led by the U.S. Marshals Service that helped to reunite hundreds of endangered and missing children with their legal guardians this year. The Department of Justice is dedicated to protecting the most vulnerable children in our society, and Operation Find Our Children does just that, said Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey A. Rosen in a news release by the DOJ. More than 60 investigators were part of the primary team led by U.S. Marshals from the Eastern and Western districts of Virginia. They collaborated with the Virginia Department of Social Services, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and a team of medical professionals. The operation also confirmed the location of 6 other children previously reported as missing who were found to be in the custody of their legal guardian, according to the news release. I can think of no more critical or satisfying mission for a law enforcement officer than rescuing an endangered child, said Nick E. Proffitt, U.S. Marshal for the Eastern District of Virginia. This operation brought together a formidable team that was, and is, determined to come to the aid of our youth and bring to justice those among us that choose to prey on these vulnerable children. Many of the recoveries occurred in Virginia's larger population centers. The news release said, at least 7 occurred in less populous areas, including Roanoke and Abingdon, while the Virginia mission was the most recent. Rosen said similar operations in Georgia, Ohio, Indiana, and Louisiana, and other states have recovered more than 440 kids this year. Because of this initiative, the recovered children are now out of harm's way. He added. Last week, Ohio Attorney General David Yost announced that U.S. Marshals in Ohio rescued 45 missing children and 109 additional human trafficking survivors during Operation Autumn Hope. He described it as the largest anti-human trafficking effort in state history. In August, the U.S. Marshals Service announced that a 2-week mission to rescue endangered and missing children in Georgia led to the recovery of 39 juveniles and the arrests of 9 suspects. Since 2005, the U.S. Marshals Service has recovered more than 2,000 missing children. According to the DOJ, the agency said it has recovered missing children in 75% of the cases it received over the past 5 years. Gun sales surged 65% in the month of October as this year's figures show a continued, record firearm sales pace amid unrest and uncertainty. According to statistics released Monday, an estimated 1.9 million firearms were sold in October this year, a 65% spike from the same month in 2019. According to data provided by Small Arms Analytics and Forecasting, SAAF, a research group that examines the raw data obtained from the FBI's National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or NICS. SAAF Chief Economist Jürgen Brauer said in a Monday press release that an estimated 18.6 million firearms have been sold so far this year, as 2020 continues on its record firearms sales pace. Just last month, the SAAF announced the number of guns sold from January to September 2020, 16.7 million, had surpassed the previous annual high of 16.6 million firearms. which were sold from January to December 2016. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, a gun industry trade group, estimated slightly different statistics, finding that 1,769,553 firearms were sold in October, a 60,1% increase from October 2019, based on its own formula using NICS data. Despite the differences, both groups have reported record-breaking numbers. NSSF spokesperson Mark Oliva said Monday that every month since March has been the strongest of that month ever recorded. This much is clear as we head into Election Day. Americans of all political persuasions are exercising their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, and doing so in record numbers, Oliva said in an email to reporters. This hasn't been a phenomenon of just red states, but also blue states. Never before have so many Americans chosen to exercise their right to firearm ownership, including the estimated 6.9 million who purchased a firearm for the first time this year, according to the SAAF. Each month from March through July saw even greater surges in sales figures, with June seeing the highest increase, a 145% surge in gun sales compared to the previous year, with more than 238 million guns sold, according to previously released SAAF data. But August and September saw less staggering, although still increased sales numbers of 57.8% and 66%, respectively. We want the missing children across this great nation to know the U.S. Marshals Service will never stop looking for you. We will find you, Prophet added. Next, Election Day weather setting up to be quiet after northeast to see light rain, snow, for the first time in a while. The forecast pattern is pretty quiet for much of the country, with the exception of the northwest and northeast on Monday. Light snow and cold rain will fall over parts of the northeast through Tuesday as a couple of cold fronts clear the coast. Several inches of snow are possible across portions of the interior northeast and into New England, where scattered winter weather advisories are in effect. The entire northeast will otherwise be cool and windy to start the week. Snow showers will end by the early afternoon across the northeast on Tuesday, with windy conditions continuing. Cold air across the mid-south will begin to rebound and make way for warmer temperatures this week. The west is warm, and those above average temperatures will spread into the plains. A new system will move into the northwest on Tuesday, but moisture should be limited to begin with. Later this week, a more consistent pattern will bring more rain/mountain snow. The rest of the country is very quiet and will remain that way on Tuesday for Election Day, with the exception of the Northeast, Pacific Northwest, and Desert Southwest. The entire rest of the country will see highs in the 60s and 70s on Tuesday, so overall pleasant temperature conditions. In terms of the tropics, Hurricane ETA is moving into Nicaragua and Honduras and will make landfall overnight, spreading flooding rain and winds into the region. ETA has maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour and is located about 155 miles east of the Nicaragua-Honduras border. Please like and subscribe to follow the latest daily news. Don't forget to comment your opinion on this newsletter. Thank you for your time. Goodbye and see you in the next news.